Today, we are jumping straight into a super fascinating cultural and philosophical clash, and it all centers around just one single word: a title. A lot of times we just think of a title as an honorific, right? Just a few letters slopped in front of a name. But what actually happens when the culture that earns and grants that title violently clashes with our modern online expectations of how it should be displayed? Well, today we're going to explore a really passionate defense of earned rank and see how completely different cultures measure true worth.
Okay, so here's the inciting incident. We've got Hanshi Deena Naidu. He's a 9th Dan red belt, a master of karate, and he practices various meditative disciplines too, like Reiki and Keihatsu. Now, over the years, Naidu has just been hammered by this recurring wave of Facebook comments. People constantly telling him he needs to drop his title when he introduces himself. Basically, they're demanding he act more humble. And, well, he reached a breaking point. As you can see from his words here, he pushes back hard against this idea of an external group trying to dictate the terms of his own identity and his literal life's achievements.
Section 1. The title controversy. Social media expectations versus the martial arts master.
So to really get why Naidu is so incredibly frustrated here, we first have to look at the modern expectation being forced on traditional Eastern masters in these digital spaces. He points out this super pervasive online sentiment where critics insist, literally insist, that true humility means staying totally silent about your rank and your lifelong achievements. The logic they're pushing is basically, hey, a true master doesn't need to announce it, people will just know. But Naidu completely disagrees. He vehemently argues that enforcing this silence actually strips away the inherent respect that a ranking teacher absolutely deserves.
Moving on to Section 2, a cultural double standard, pomp versus erasure.
Now, Naidu argues that this whole demand for silence isn't actually about humility at all. He frames it as a massive, hypocritical, cultural double standard. Think about it. In Western culture, we celebrate titles. We display them with all this pomp, we frame them on our office walls, we stamp them boldly on professional letterheads. Naidu points out this wild irony. A Western coach with just, say, 6 months of experience and a decent printer can casually claim the title of master, and everybody just applauds him for it. But Eastern masters, they're told to stay quiet and invisible. For Naidu, this sends a really toxic message that decades of Eastern sacrifice somehow mean less, just because their traditional certificates don't fit neatly into standard Western filing cabinets.
Section 3. The cost of disrespect. When dropping titles crosses the line.
And look, this cultural disconnect isn't just some abstract internet debate. It creates very real, genuinely offensive friction in the physical dojo. Naidu actually shares 3 pretty stark anecdotes to show the cost of this disrespect. First, Western students at the Japan Karate College had to be reprimanded for casually calling the revered Gogen Yamaguchi-sensei just Gogen. Then you have Takahashi-sensei, a senior teacher, literally standing outside dormitories rather than interacting with visitors who just lack basic respect for an earned societal place. And it culminates with Naidu instantly expelling 2 of his very own students. Why? Because they introduced Naidu to Iwanami-sensei using only first names, a profound breach of etiquette in Japan. To him, a teacher is a teacher. Full stop.
Section 4. Redefining true humility. Silence versus sacrifice.
Having laid out this real-world problem, Naidu totally flips the script on his critics by redefining the core value at the heart of this whole debate. What is humility? Well, to Naidu, it is definitely not about being quiet or hiding your achievements just to make other people comfortable. No, he defines it by physical and spiritual endurance. It's bowing before you enter the dojo and incredibly still standing after immense sacrifice to pass on what you were taught. It's about literally bleeding for the art so that your students don't have to. Actually, when you put it like that, it's a completely different paradigm from the pristine social media version of modesty.
50. Let that number sink in for a second. 50 years of unbroken dedication to his craft. He spent half a century, literally half his life and then some, earning a title that random online commenters just casually tell him to hide. When you look at it that way, it really puts things into perspective, right? It totally grounds the conversation in the sheer reality of what it actually takes to achieve the rank of a 9th Dan red belt.
Section 5. Proof of sacrifice. Karate was not born in a boardroom.
To dive even deeper into why these titles carry such immense weight and why you can't just drop them to appease someone online, Naidu walks us through the art's vast historical timeline. I mean, think about this journey. Forged in India, brought over to China, lifted up and developed in Okinawa, tested in the brutal reality of war. This art was refined through generations of masters who earned their ranks through broken bones and unbroken spirits. It absolutely was not born in some corporate boardroom where titles get handed out on freshly printed paper. It was forged in pure survival and discipline.
Because of that blood-stained history, Naidu breaks down exactly what a title truly represents. He puts it super plainly. He did not train for 50 years to be invisible. He trained so the art would remain visible. So a title like Hanshi, it is absolutely not about ego. It's living proof of lineage connecting him directly to past masters. It's proof of incredible personal sacrifice. And honestly, most importantly, it's proof that the way continues to live simply because these practitioners carried it forward on their own shoulders.
And that brings us to Naidu's powerful, unyielding core thesis about his identity and his rank. He flat out refuses to hide his title for the comfort of others, or for petty dojo politics, or for a modern system that mistakes mere paperwork for true proficiency. He's essentially saying, hey, my worth isn't granted by some Facebook commenter. It's proven on the mat, it's proven in a person's character, and in the lives they managed to change over decades.
So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this final thought on how entirely different cultures measure true worth. When we strip away our own cultural biases and really look at the decades of sweat, the discipline, the lineage, is a title just a piece of paperwork that can be casually tossed aside for the sake of appearances? Or is it the undeniable proof of a lifetime of dedication? Thanks so much for joining me as we unpacked this really fascinating perspective. Stay curious and keep learning.